All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Raiders Daily. So, if you guys remember from right when the draft concluded, we talked about Jacorian Bennett on this channel a lot. Maryland football fans loved this player. And when he was selected by the Las Vegas Raiders in the fourth round, Raiders fans, checking out the highlights, checking out the tape, they saw the draw immediately. Jacorian Bennett last season, in general, at his position was extremely underrated. This is a very talented, extremely fast cornerback that is going to be a starter sooner rather than later on this Raiders roster. Now, as things stand right now, Jacorian Bennett is lining up on the other side of Marcus Peters. So you have Marcus Peters, Jacorian Bennett, and Nate Hobbs currently as your projected secondary. Now, one thing I've been talking about on this channel a lot is one thing that needs to be mentioned last season was when the only pass rush that the Raiders had was Max Crosby. So opposing quarterbacks had all the time in the world to find an open receiver. Your secondary can only do so much. They can only hold up for so long. So with just not the best pass rush, an inconsistent pass rush, the secondary got lit up. In general, I thought that there was a lot of talent on that secondary. However, it crumbled. The Raiders secondary last season just wasn't good. The Raiders defense last season just wasn't good. So they moved to Jacorian Bennett in the fourth round. This is a player who, like I said, is extremely fast. But, like 2 weeks ago, we heard an NFL insider say he can definitely envision a 2023 Raiders starting quarterback group of Marcus Peters and Bennett on the outside and Nate Hobbs in the slot. And that's pretty much, this is like 2 weeks ago. That's pretty much what's happened since then. Here's a quote from Josh McDaniels that kind of just gets you going, gives you an understanding of Jacorian. He takes the game very seriously. He's intelligent. He can learn quickly and then take it from the meeting room to the field. It's hard to run by the guy because he runs very well and he's trying to get his hands on balls. 24. Jeez. Before we get any further into today's video, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily Raiders content. We're trying to get the channel to 10,000 subscribers. So if we get this video to 100 likes, that would mean the world to me, bump out the algorithm. But I've been saying all offseason, I really think this Raiders defense is going to surprise some people. Patrick Graham got some slack. He actually got a lot of slack last season for that defense. First year DC, or first year on the system as the DC. The second year, both sides of the ball is always going to be better. It's just going to be more improved. When we take a look on paper of the Raiders defense in general, you've got a lot of talent. Max Crosby, Chandler Jones, Tyree Wilson, Double D, Nate Hobbs, Marcus Peters coming on in here, just bringing that grit, bringing that leadership ability to this secondary is really going to help them out. So, we've been sitting here debating all summer, talking about, and, I know, the 49ers camp, and we have preseason beginning in a couple of days and like a month away is the regular season. So all this is just speculation, but we want to see it on the field. But in the meantime, I really think that this Raiders defense is going to be at worst the 20th ranked team. And I think the secondary is going to be a huge reason for why that defense is not as bad as last season. It's, honestly, it's going to be kind of hard to be as bad as that defense was last season. And to the defense's credit, the offense did not help them out in the second half of most football games last year. So for me, here's what I'm thinking. And this is something we've been saying literally all summer once again. If the Raiders finish, let's say worst case scenario, let's say they finish the 20th ranked defense. Well, on paper, and what we saw last season with Josh Jacobs being the best running back in the league, I'm assuming Josh Jacobs will be there week one, or even if he's not there week one, he's going to play for the Raiders next season. They have an unarguable top 5 wide receiver room. You cannot argue it. As far as their top 3 receivers go, I would say it's probably one of the best in the league. Jacoby Myers, Hunter Renfrow, great glue guys, like phenomenal glue guys to have. These are 800 plus receiving yard players. And then you have, to me, he's still the best wide receiver in the league in Davante Adams. That's insane talent. And then, the revamped tight end room and the offensive line that is only going to improve. Jimmy G coming on over, the leadership ability, the talent that he possesses. There's a lot more things that go into it than just being carried by your defense or your coach. Yes, the 49ers defense helped Jimmy G. Yes, Kyle Shanahan helped you, Jimmy G, but like that's the purpose of a football roster. You want everybody to complement each other and you want to win a Super Bowl. And that's what Jimmy G and the 49ers did. So you got to give some respect there. But my point is this: I cannot envision a world where the Raiders are outside of the top 10 in offense. But let's just play devil's advocate here. And unfortunately, let's say Jimmy G battled some injuries or their offense battled some injuries. And you have an around the middle of the packed offense and your defense is ranked 20th. My point here is that the Raiders are not going 0-17. They're not going 1-16. They're not going 2-15. I think the worst the Raiders could do this upcoming season is go 6-11. And at 6-11, that means that you have talent on your roster, but more importantly, that means you have a top 10 pick, and you're going to have your selection at a quarterback, and you move up, all that, talk about that if it happens, but you get what I'm saying here. It really is a win-win season for the Raiders. And one thing that I've been really excited about in the last, I would say since training camp actually began was, we know it's training camp. You got to take it with a grain of salt. We want to see live reps. We're seeing all these hype, all this praise for these rookies, guys like Ja'Cory Bennett, but we want to see them out on the field. There's just a lot of hype. It seems like a much more unified roster. Once again, not pointing fingers at anybody last season, but the vibe, the aura, the energy of this Raiders team, I think is completely different than it was last year. And I think this offense, I think a fresh start with Jimmy G at QB, it's exciting, okay? But what we're trying to get at here is, and I know, a 9-8 season doesn't necessarily get you licking your chops. My point is, the Raiders, don't write off the Raiders quite yet. Let's see the live reps. Let's watch the preseason games. Let's give it a couple of games in the regular season. We'll evaluate it. We'll make these videos. But at the end of the day, I really think the Raiders are going to hover around 500. And if that defense clicks, and if that defense clicks early, and you get off to a hot start, and that offense and your offense is healthy, they're moving the ball down the field. They're getting touchdowns. They're putting points up on the board. The defense is getting stops. The defense, maybe you're bending but not breaking. Maybe you're giving up field goals, but you're not giving up touchdowns. And you start off the season 3-3 or 4-2. From where the Raiders team outlook looked at the end of last season, if you started the season 3-3, I would be ecstatic. Okay, my point is, and we're just kind of talking, we're rambling here. I'll cut to the chase here. I appreciate you guys watching this video. The Raiders are going to be a lot better than people are thinking. Am I saying the Raiders are going to win 12 games? No. But the Raiders are going to be a lot better than people think. And what some people outside of Raiders fans don't seem to understand here is players turn into stars. There are stars on this roster. Rookies have immediate impacts. 4th-round picks turn into stars, late steals. I'm looking at Ja'Cory Bennett. He's a star in this league, all right? We'll see plenty of flashes this upcoming season. A rookie turning into a star, it's kind of far-fetched. He's got a very bright future in this league. Unfortunately for the Raiders, he's on your roster. So that's it for today. Hit that like button, hit that sub button. Let me know what you guys are thinking about that secondary down below.